from where you sit, so sometimes this is the way I think about it. The immediate purposes for the war, I normally ask myself, it doesn't look possible that you go to a war and expect it to end within a certain time, because normally the war never ends. Generations continue to fight it.
Yeah, so Samson, you see, I agree perfectly that war or armed conflict has never been a solution to any dispute. And if you recall, even our Nobel Prize winners have always advocated, Nelson Mandela, they have always advocated that we need to have peaceful dialogue resolution of any conflict. And to any state that assumes that it has a military might and they can install order and they can ensure peace by the imposition or by the exertion of that particular might is totally going to get it wrong. And that people would prefer to die with their dignity. And that to the extent that you are encroaching on my sovereignty, on my very person, what makes me an Iranian and Israelis, people will fight to death. And for any leader to even contemplate that, they will want to install a certain order in a different country, a system you are very clueless about, a system that you have no knowledge as to how they govern and organize their social structure, you are going to get it wrong. And that is the mistake the United States is committing. And sometimes, because we are trying to be politically correct, people will fail to call these people out. As a matter of fact, Donald Trump is trying to be a bully. And that is the reality, that the American people conduct a survey even amongst the American people, they will not support what he's doing.
I don't know about that particular one, but being a bully, he started it from day one with these, unlawful tariffs that have now been struck down.
Exactly. So you cannot go on. And in fact, this current war, in the 12-day war with Iran, in the middle of negotiation, you went and bombed Iran. And you told the whole world that you had targeted an Iranian, nuclear enrichment center, and you have destroyed, in fact, you have obliterated everything.
Obliterated
everything. That was your words. Less than 6 months down the line, in June, you are now telling the whole world that Iran has nuclear weapons and that Iran is trying to develop nuclear. Look at the double standard, look at the inconsistency. Secondly, you say you want to change regime. Who gives you the audacity to determine how the Iranian people should govern? I'm still trying difficult. Look,
America is a democracy police. You don't know that?
I like the fact that Oliver is coming from. Look, if the Americans should decide to come to Ghana and take away our president, we will be helpless. The only way we can forestall that or prevent that is to speak against the injustice that is happening to others. The moment it is happening to Venezuela, we are quiet because we are not Venezuelans. If it's happening to Iranians, we are quiet because we are not Iranians. The very day they come to Ghana, people will not be there to speak for us.
But Ghana has been swift these days. Ghana has not been quiet.
I agree that on these particular matters, we are trying to develop an international, in fact, we are developing an international or foreign policy of being from our non-aligned to more or less taking center stage, especially when there are matters bordering on human rights, bordering on the United States, United Nations Charter, bordering on the rules governing the ICC. We are very vocal. But you see, this war with Iran has 3 axes. One, there's a propaganda bit of it. And both sides, you can see Iranian telling their story, you can see American telling their story, you can see the Israelis telling their story. People are even thinking that this is a religious war. As a matter of fact, in Israel, only about 2% of the population are Christians. So for any Christian or for any person to even sit down and think that this is a religious war is actually very, very dogmatic and being brainwashed. Because Jews constitute about 75% of the population of Israel. In fact, there are more Muslims in Israel than there are Christians. Right? So we take away the religion and you realize that these are people fighting over certain economic, certain territorial, certain kind of sovereignty that they want to flex their muscles. We need to get it from that guy. There's also the technological bit that, very much highlighted by
It's basically a tech war.
Technology. And you see, the American thought that this was going to be like another 12 days war or another maybe 1 week. They go and change, they kill their leader, like Ayatollah Khomeini, and then that's all. But these people have succession that even if you kill the 10th person, there's someone who is going to take over. Clear line of succession. So your method did not work in 1951. It did not work in 1979. It cannot work in 2006. So I think that the American and the international community would have to look at this whole issue about.
So let's come home quickly. What are you seeing? What are we likely to suffer as a result of this?
Well, so first and foremost, Ghana is going to be affected in our trade because if you have any businesses that is going on within the Gulf area and traders are going there, we are doing businesses even now as close as Dubai. People, movement, airports were locked down.
Yeah, our players have not been able
to leave. This is one of the effects that we are going to affect. I mean, immediate effect. Another effect that we cannot run from, and like the market is already starting to respond, that from as low as $65 to the barrel in oil prices, we have gone to 92 thereabout. And analysts are saying that it is the matter of when, but not if, prices are going to go to $100 to the barrel if this war should continue. Invariably, it's going to.
We have reserves for between 5 and 7 weeks. Is it for
that statement of having reserves? You see, price. Why is it that whenever prices in the world market change, there is adjustment in prices domestic? Do we say we have reserves, so we have to wait? That doesn't work. We are only creating the sense that those reserves are there. If we are locked out of the international community by way of importation, we may be able to, live within. But that doesn't mean that prices will not change, because the buyer will be thinking that if I don't increase prices, I will not be able to place the next consignment. So the effect, the knock-on effect in terms of prices is going to be there. We can't run away from that.
Right.
Again, the other effect that we're likely to see is the possible radicalization and elements now coming within our borders. For instance, where is going to be the safe haven for those people who are affected? Which countries are they going to move to? If Hezbollah is not finding, if we like Lebanon,
to safe. Our borders,
any country, as a matter of fact, any country, and you see, the potential for Ghanaians to be recruited. In fact, it's happening in Ukraine. Ghanaians are fighting in the war in Russia-Ukraine. Is it not a national security threat to us that our own compatriots are joining Ukrainian forces and Russian forces fighting each other? The same thing is going to happen if we have this relationship or these hostilities continuing. We would have Ghanaians having to join either Israel or Iran in this particular fight. And this is going to be driven by economics, because they will know that these people will pay more. Instead of being unemployed in this country, why don't I take the gun and join so that I can make some living?
Right.